As opposed to, right now, there are districts in California, I don't know if there are any in Illinois that are doing this, but as a change in population, it changes representation in the US House. And that's completely wrong, because it skews who is going to vote ultimately, and it skews where money is coming from or going to out of the federal government.
I think
And that is a great point and a great question, but I'm not the federal government. I'm in the state house, so I can't deal with the census.
I realize it's the US
But
concept.
you're right, and it is a good point, and that's something that, I can't control. That's a federal issue, but
Yeah.
it is a good point to make, for sure, absolutely.
So, I'll go to a kind of
Yes,
easy
that's
question.
exactly right.
So, anyone who drives on DuSable Lakeshore Drive, they see the homeless encampment. What are your observations on that? Why has that changed so much in the last 5 years, that there have been so many homeless encampments on Lakeshore Drive that didn't exist in 2019? And why, when we go to our various shopping centers and we're getting off the various ramps, we see so many people begging? And part one is why, not that you have the answer, and to what degree can you change that trajectory?
Well, I believe a lot of that had to do with the immigrants that were coming across the border during the Biden-Harris era, that have been streaming across the border. And then, of course, our part of that here in Illinois is our state government said we are a sanctuary state. So to go back many years, we passed this law called the Trust Act. And it was sold to us saying that there are people here we all acknowledge that are non-citizens, and maybe they're here illegally, and they are being picked on by criminals. And the criminals know they're easy targets because they can't go to the police because they'll be deported. So we should protect them. We should say that if you are being picked on, if you go to the police and you're being picked on, you report a crime, we're not going to deport you for that. If you're a witness to a crime and you're not here legally, we're not going to deport you for that. And I think 90% of people in Illinois, if not more, would say, yeah, that makes sense. I think that makes sense. That makes sense. But when they passed the law, they also covered criminals. So it wasn't just the people who were being hurt, it was the criminals as well. So that was the Trust Act. And now we have this thing called sanctuary state, where we don't help people, and we don't help the government when we have a criminal non-citizen get deported. We're now blocked from that. So that made DeSantis and Abbott and all those border states say, take them. If you're going to be a sanctuary state, take them. They're yours. And they came here. Now, Springfield could have stopped it. They could have said, you're right, we're no longer a sanctuary state. Sorry, that was our bad. But they didn't. However, applause for the people of this district, because I saw people come off buses by the boatloads here in Wilmette, and the people of this district stood up and said, here are coats, here's food, here's diapers for your kids, here's clothing. The people were solving the problems that the state created. So that made me feel very good. I went to several meetings at my church about how we can help this. But the state caused the problems and the people are fixing it. The state needs to step in also and do their part as well. The homeless encampments are just people who couldn't find the shelters that they were promised when they got here. That's a big part of it. Mental health. Drugs, which is another issue we have in Illinois, is opioids and fentanyl and drugs issues. But these people need help. We need to be helping the people who are in encampments, whether it be because they're here illegal and they don't have a place to stay, or because they have mental health issues, or they have drug issues. We need to be helping these folks. And that's something that's changed in Illinois in the last several years I have seen, is that we've stopped helping the people who need the help, and we've gone a different direction. We focused more on other issues instead of the people in Illinois. The people need the help. That's what the government's here for.
So crime. According to CWB Chicago, 19 people in Chicago were murdered by felons on pretrial release in 2023. What can be done about this?
Well, that's the Safety Act, right? A lot of us were against the Safety Act, and we said this is going to happen. And sure enough, this is happening. We found out that we were correct. So the Safety Act's a problem. We need to repeal the Safety Act. We start with that, And then it's not just that somebody was out on home incarceration with an ankle monitor that, by the way, you can't do anything for 48 hours, I believe it is. 48 hours before the police can react to, You're supposed to be in your home and you're not. And they give them 48 hours to go wherever they want to go. And if you're back in 48 hours, okay, never mind.
All bets off.
All bets are off, it's
Where
fine, all good. But then they get arrested again, and then they get put on home confinement again. And it's not like, well, dude, we let you out one time and now you're not, you're out there. They just keep putting you out. And there are certain crimes that they're just not even gonna do it for. I mean, if you are caught dealing drugs, you know, it's not necessarily a detainable offense. You're gonna go back out, you know? You're gonna go back out. They had one guy, there was a story that I saw recently published where the cops witnessed a guy shoot his semi-automatic pistol at an occupied car. The cops witnessed it. Turn on the lights. Woo! They go after him. He takes off. He ditches the car. He starts running, throws the gun. He trips and falls. The cops apprehend him. They recover the gun. They get him for disorderly, conduct. They get him for firing at an occupied car, illegal gun possession most likely. All these charges, and the judge says, nah, just be home at nighttime. That's fine. I'm not gonna keep you in jail for that.
In fairness, that's not a legislative problem. That's an individual
Well, that is
judge.
part of the Safety Act.
Yeah.
That is
No,
that
that
you
person
can make a
could
law
have
where
been
you can.
detained under the Safety Act if the state's attorney had presented the evidence to support that, and it was the judge's decision to let that person go without, to not incarcerate.
Under the
that person.
Safety Act, you have to be able to show that this person is a specific threat to a specific person, not the public at large. If I'm a threat to you, and they can say, I shot at you, and that's one thing. But to be just a large nuisance is not a reason to take somebody. So since if they couldn't do that, if they couldn't show that he was a specific threat to a specific person, then that's the Safety Act. They've changed that rule. So I think personally, any gun crime should be, if you're out there and you're shooting at people, any gun crime, there's no bail. You're in jail, period. Yes.
Quick question, so about the sanctuary state, so if the legislators can pass law to lift the sanctuary status, so that's a legislator's job, right? To lift
Correct,
the-
we would repeal the Trust Act.
Okay, and then how do we help all these illegal people here go back home?
Well, you start with the criminal alien. You start with being able to cooperate with DHS and INS and ICE and being able to say, here are the people that are not here legally that are detained, take those first, right? And that's what the Trust Act stops, is our being able to cooperate with federal authorities to deport people, because the state can't deport people, but if we're not even cooperating with them, they're never gonna be deported, they're just gonna stay here and keep committing crimes.
Will the federal government actually go and deport them if they knew that information? Or if they could? I mean, that's a whole nother question. Will depending upon what kind of administration you have, will the federal government actually go and have ICE deport these people? Or is it just, oh, well,
And that's where you vote for Seth Cohen or Jim Karras for Congress.
okay.
And that's something I just want to be able to cooperate with. I want our police to be able to say, here's this person, do with them what you will.
It's not being brought out in this election cycle. Nobody's saying anything about that.